Hi, my name's Leo and I'm a boat builder and a sailor. A few years ago I bought a very old and quite famous wooden sailing yacht for the price of $1, and since then I've been rebuilding that boat from the keel up with the help of a lot of amazing people. Now in this video we're going to be covering quite a few different exciting projects that we're working on right now, but we're mainly going to be focusing on building the deck hatches, caulking the deck and building the blocks, which are kind of like the pulleys that work in the rig. We're going to start out by looking at the deck hatches. Now a little while ago you saw the main companionway hatch being built. After that Pat started working on the forward companionway hatch, which is very similar to the main companionway except it's smaller and at the front of the boat. And now he made a lot of the parts for that at his home workshop, and then he and Paddy glued it up on the boat to make sure that the main body of the hatch would fit the sill underneath. After they glued up the main body, they took it back off the boat and started gluing up the rest of the pieces, including the top panels. What's happening on the Paddy and Pat show today?
It's a rerun. It's a rerun of episode 1.
This is episode 2. Back by popular demand.
So what about that little hatch out to the side? What's going on there?
This little bump out is a skylight. Windows in it here like that. Hinge up like this.
Very nice. Now we're going to come back to the deck hatches, but there's also been quite a bit of work going on in the head, plumbing going in, black tank and so on. Some of this stuff has been in before and come out, but this is going in for the final time. There's been a lot of paint and varnish work in there, and a bit more cabinetry and woodwork as well.
I think I might just have the whole thing.
Jeez, dude. I wish I could help, but
But you're holding a camera.
George is holding this really heavy camera.
This feels so strange. I feel like I have the most awkward baby.
Alright.
Okay.
I'm gonna go this way up here.
Buddy.
Oh.
The dew is fun.
Look at this.
You got technique now, dude.
Jesus, what? Was it really that easy?
So just in case it's been a couple of episodes, just remind us, what's your name and what do you do?
My name's Erica and I do systems work.
What was the latest thing that you did in the head, and what was holding you up from that?
Everything needed to be painted and varnished in the head, and the black water tank needed to be installed. I had everything mocked up and I was able to do a final install and make certain connections that I'd been waiting on until things were coated and ready to go.
Cool. All the plumbing looks really neat in there. What's can you just give us a rundown of like the main components that are in that system?
Yeah, so there's the Blake Slovac pump, and then 2 Y valves that let you choose whether or not the black water is going to go directly overboard or in a holding tank or get pumped out, and then another vented loop.
All right. Thanks, Erica.
Yeah.
Looking awesome in there. what are you doing to your beautiful cabinetry?
Well, you know, you build all this nice stuff, and then the Simpsons people want you to put holes in everything. So this is for some plumbing something.
You look real happy about that.
I hate it so much. I'm having a real emotional moment here. No, we'll get it cleaned up. It'll be good.
Yeah. Once there's a hose in it, it'll make a lot more sense.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Ugh.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about and get into making the blocks for the rig. Now, blocks is a nautical term for what might otherwise be known as a pulley. Now, blocks can be made with all sorts of different materials, and you can see a lot of different varieties on modern boats as well as older boats. For tally-ho, we're going to be making a fairly traditional style of blocks. The main shell of the block will be wood, as well as a metal pin, a Delrin sheave or wheel, and some bronze parts and some fiber parts in some of the blocks too. Now I'm going to hand you over to Bob, who is actually making the blocks, but before that I just want to explain why we are making our own blocks rather than just buying blocks off the shelf. On a traditional rig like this, there are a lot of different styles of block that do slightly different things, and by making our own we can make each one slightly different to better fit the application. Although we might be able to get some of these different styles of block from the same manufacturer, it would be very difficult probably to get all the custom types that we need, especially from the same manufacturer, and so they wouldn't be consistent. Now, by making them ourselves, we're able to have a really nice consistent set of blocks which all match each other. We're able to spec out the exact sizes and strength characteristics that we need for this rig, and we get to do our own quality control, our own testing, and you guys get to see how blocks are made.
Hello again, my name is Bob. We've started working on the suite of blocks for tally-ho, and we use these to change the direction that a line is pulling or to add mechanical advantage to a rigging system. For the most part, we are custom building wooden blocks for tally-ho. In the world of wooden blocks, there's kind of two major ways that you can make them: either a solid body block, which is made of a solid piece of wood that you carve a slot in, or what we're building would be called composite blocks, where you have several pieces of wood glued together to form the block. As composite blocks go, there's a couple different ways you can put them together. This might look a little unusual to a lot of people. This is what we would call a rope strop block. And this is sort of a modern interpretation of like a very classic old world form. This is what blocks on sailing vessels more or less look like for most of the history of sailing vessels, where instead of having some kind of a metal structure that takes the load of the block, you have a piece of rope that wraps around it very tightly, and that is where the load of the line is hanging. And on tally-ho, we're going to have a mix of rope strop blocks and metal strop blocks, which will have a sort of metal strap that goes inside the block. We don't have any of those built yet. We're still waiting on the parts.
So as you guys know, costs on this project have been going up, and I'm really pleased to say that this video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Now, I love living in the USA, but sometimes after a hard day's boat building, all I want to do is sit back and watch some of my favorite British TV. Unfortunately, a lot of streaming services are geographically restricted when you're outside the country. With Surfshark VPN, I can change my virtual location to bypass the restrictions and watch my favorite shows. Beep.
Oh, Charles! Finally, my lifelong dream of being your doting wife forcometh.
Wait until the end of the ceremony.
As well as being useful for unblocking your favorite streaming platforms, Surfshark VPN can also help keep all your data safe and secure. Right now you can get an exclusive Surfshark deal by entering the promo code TALLYHO for an extra 3 months for free. Links in the video description.
Should anyone protest this marriage, speak now or forever hold your peace.
Where do I start? What's my line?
Come on!
Boulder Dash!
Tallyho's blocks will be made out of 2 different species, white ash and black locust. There are about 55 individual blocks on Tallyho. So the first step, and a very critical step, is very carefully milling out finding these little pieces, orienting the grain as ideally as possible. Especially in the rope strop blocks, the load path is actually going through the wood. Then drilling the holes for the G10 axle reinforcement, gluing that in, and then I route in a little slot for the anti-rotation pin that goes through the end of the axle. And I glue up the stack of the parts of the block. I'll drill and tap a hole for the bronze machine screw that goes through it, and then cutting and sanding the perimeter shape of the block to its final size and shape, and then using a router to shape the profile of the cheeks, give them their rounded, sort of oval round over shape. And then I use rasps and files to really carefully cut a groove around the block that the strop will fit into, which has to be really close fit for the strop material that's going to go in it. And then it gets a bunch of layers of finish, the sort of old world varnish that we're using a lot on Tallyho, called Le Tonkinois. Then it gets fitted with its sheave. Tallyho's blocks.
What's the sheave, Bob?
Tallyho's blocks will all have sheaves or wheels, which is the turning part of the pulley or block. And these sheaves are made by a local company called Zephyr Works, and they're made out of acetyl resin, also known as Delrin plastic, with a oil impregnated bronze bushing pressed into the middle. And they're really strong and long lasting and much lighter than a metal sheave and no moving parts.
Outside, such a pretty sight. Dusk is falling, falling. See the inside, it's reflected back. Now we can't hide or ride. Though we're sitting rather lonesome, There's somebody in the glass, and she's smiling at him hiding. Now he's crying, smiling back.
You gonna tell YouTube what you did?
Oh God. Well, I messed up YouTube, and Leo's real mad. I don't know if you can see this, but this hole for the sink is a 32nd of an inch off. So Leo wants me to remake my whole countertop. And you know, he's right. I shouldn't have made a mistake like that. So.
I saw him under there. I was wondering what got his vein to pop out his forehead.
He's he's screaming, he's throwing things. So I'm just.
The baby for. Damn, you just banged out that seam super quick.
You don't need it look hard. It's really easy. I don't understand. I just Googled this for like 2 seconds and I feel like a pro, you know?
Googled how to cork?
Yeah, corking for dummies.
Now there's another job which has been started recently, and that's been paying the seams in the deck, or caulking the deck. Now the terminology does get a little bit difficult because we talk about caulking in terms of hammering the cotton into the seams, but we also sometimes talk about caulking the deck in terms of actually filling the top of the seams with a rubber compound that sticks to the wood and seals the planking from water getting down to the cotton in the first place. The compound or caulk that we use to pay the seams is a product called TDS, or Teak Decking Systems, and TDS actually very kindly sent us enough of their product to caulk our whole deck, which is amazing. It is the product I would have been using anyway because it really is the industry standard. It's the best stuff for the job, so big thanks to TDS. Now, although this seems like a pretty simple job, there's actually quite a lot of steps to it in terms of prepping the seams and the cotton for the TDS and then later on cleaning it up. Zeal has been in charge of this and he's been working with Nick, so I'll let those guys explain a little bit more about how it works.
So we're gonna pay the seams, which is to put like compound in it. And in order to do that, we have to sand the inside of this groove. And when I sand that, it roughs up the cotton that's already in there. So I'm just going through and tapping that roughed up cotton down so it's nice and neat.
And then you're going slight X's.
Yeah.
So you're catching
that
little bit, and then you're catching that little bit, and
yeah.
You're catching that little bit. So.
Nick, what are we about to do?
We're about to put TDS in the caulking seams. teak deck systems.
In the caulking seams.
There.
So what have we done to prepare for this moment?
So we sanded inside the seams to make sure that there's like a rough tooth that the TDS can adhere to. We cleaned it up after that with by vacuuming and also hitting everything with acetone to try to make sure everything's clean, free of dust, yada yada.
Here we go, the app section.
Let's pay it.
So stoked. Hey, what you doing, Bob?
Didn't I already tell you? I'm clapping on some service seal.
Doing a little service. What's that mean for the folks at home?
I'm wrapping one piece of rope very tightly with a much smaller piece of rope to protect the larger piece of rope from the elements and abrasion. Also in this case to kind of give it a more traditional appearance, although the service is still certainly functional. We are stropping blocks on Tally-Ho with served Dyneema. There's a lot of Dyneema in the rig. It's wonderful material. To me, it makes a lot of sense on a modern, traditionally rigged vessel. It's a really effective blend of modern materials applied with old world techniques. A lot of people look at rope strop blocks and they've seen poorly made rope strop blocks where when stuff pulls really hard, this space opens up and the block maybe looks like it's gonna work its way out. If this is put together properly, that is really not a concern. When this is applied with the right technique so that there's a lot of tension, this is, there's no give in this at all. Like I can't pull this to the side at all. This is a tried and tested method of putting a block together, thousands of years old, and it works really well. The physics are actually really interesting. The way this actually distributes load into the wood is very, very efficient and strong. They last a really long time. There's lots of traditionally rigged vessels that have sailed many times around the world with all blocks like this. You know, we riggers like to solve problems with cordage whenever possible, and I'm really stoked to sort of be here, part of the project, so that we can give Tally-Ho a really sort of unique and individual set of blocks. That's all I need to say about that. I'm gonna cry.
So much Cis 440. Oh, sweet. And they gave us these little, these fine tips for the big caulking gun.
Nice.
They're going to get in the seams really well.
What do you think about this product, Zil?
I think it's pretty awesome. There isn't really a better product for raw decks. It sticks good.
All right. You've earned your pay now.
I do
I'll pay you.
I do honestly feel that way, though. This stuff's really good.
Well, it's really great to see the decks caulked, the hatches are looking amazing, the blocks are really interesting, and as always there's so many other jobs going on which I haven't been able to get them all into this video, but it's just really exciting to see so much happening at once. Very soon, hopefully we're going to be catching up with the spars, with the cap rails which have started now, and a bunch of other stuff, so stick around. But for now, thanks a lot for watching, and a massive thanks to everyone who has donated or otherwise supported this project. It does make a huge difference. It means that we're able to carry on doing this work, and we're able to keep on making and editing these videos, so I really appreciate it. And I'll see you next time. Cheers. Alright, action.
Should anyone protest this marriage, speak now or forever hold your peace.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Should anyone protest this marriage, speak
Okay, you stop laughing, okay? I'm doing my job.
Should anyone protest this marriage, speak
It happens to all the pros.
Yeah, it happens.
It's real Hollywood stuff.
Yeah,
Okay,
this will
okay.
be in the blooper reel.
Here we go. I'm ready.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, my dress is coming unfurled.
Oh, nip slip. Got it.
Just, yeah.
Wardrobe.
Okay, yeah, you didn't have to cop a feel, but okay.
I had to.
Don't forget your line.
And action.
Should anyone protest this marriage, speak
Come on!
How are you laughing at the same time every time?